Welcome to Literary Archaeology. Today's the first day that we are digging into this stuff on this channel. I will tell you guys the reason that I made this separate channel. And that is because this is what YouTube calls a niche subject. So it's its own thing. And having it on the other channel, Far From Eden, since it was we think it's, has to do with it, but YouTube didn't see it that way. So it was messing with the algorithm. So it's not getting the message of men's rights, men's, advocacy, shouting down feminism. It was hurting those videos. And I need that message to get out. When men are telling me, you're saving lives, I found your video just in time, because I get these emails and I get these. The message needs to get out. And I'm not going to stop with literary archaeology. We've already, found so much stuff. And I'll probably share some shorts from what we cover on Far From Eden that I think are excellent lessons that we all need to know. But this also gives us more of an opportunity to dig into, other things, like reading other books, getting into other folklore. I won't feel worried about getting into this niche topic and somehow messing the algorithm up for the other channel. So having said all that, I wanted to explain to you guys why we're on this channel too. I hope you've found me over here, but it's just going to be rough, getting it going, getting the momentum. That's okay. I have faith that it will continue. Speaking of which, some of you guys have said, hey, can you read the Book of Ruth? Absolutely. You can do that on this channel too. So I'm excited for that. I won't be playing the intro because this is literary archaeology. So maybe I'll get a special intro for that. Today, the title of the fairy tale we're going to read is called The Expert Huntsman. So see what we're going to dig in today. You just never know. Just never know. Speaking of which, you guys should check out the fairy tale that I released on Locals because I cannot release it on this platform. Go check it out. You'll see why. The Expert Huntsman. Once upon a time, there was a young fellow, and after he had learned the locksmith trade, he told his father that he had to go out into the world and try his luck. It sounds very similar to what we have today, where children learn a different trade than their family and their father, rather than follow in the father's footsteps and go off and do that thing. Don't know how it's going to turn out for this guy, but I wanted to point that out, that this is kind of like what modern society turned into. Yes, said his father, I'm satisfied with your decision, and he gave him money for his journey. So the young man wandered about looking for work. After some time, he found that he was not very successful as a locksmith. Moreover, pardon me. Moreover, the trade no longer suited him, for he had craving to become a huntsman. Then one day during his travels, he met a huntsman clad in green who asked him where he came from and where he was going. The young man told him he was a locksmith, but no longer liked the trade and wanted to become a huntsman. And he asked whether the man could take him on as an apprentice. Yes, I can, if you want to come along with me. The young fellow went with him and hired himself out for several years and learned the craft of hunting. After his apprenticeship had ended, he wanted to try his luck elsewhere. The only wage he received from the huntsman was an air gun, but it was made in such a special way that it never missed when fired. The young huntsman set off and soon came to a very large forest that was impossible to cross in one day. When evening came, he climbed a high tree to keep himself safe from wild animals. Toward midnight, he thought, he saw the glimmer of a small light in the distance. He looked through the branches at the spot and took note of where the light was coming from. Then he removed his hat and threw it toward the light so that he would have a marker to point him in the direction he wanted to go. After he climbed down, he went after his hat, put it on again, and proceeded straight ahead. The farther he went, the larger the light grew, and when he got up close to it, he saw a tremendous fire with 3 giants sitting around and eating, with large pieces of meat in their mouths that they had roasted on the fire. Then the huntsman took his gun and shot a piece of meat away from the first giant's mouth, just as he was about to bite into it. He did this also to the second giant. Then the giants said to one another, "Anyone who can shoot a piece of meat from our mouths must be a real sharpshooter. We'd certainly like him to join us if he wants to." But the huntsman now shot a piece of meat from the third giant's mouth, and the giant shouted, "Who are you? Come over to us. Sit down and eat with us." That's a little bit of a different reaction than most, but I think that's why the fairy tales use characters like giants and elves and stuff, because they don't apply the same moral constraints to the sort of other creatures, if you will. So now the young fellow joined the giants and told them he was an expert huntsman, and that whatever he took aim at with his gun, he was sure to hit. After hearing this, the giants told him things would go well for him if he came along with them. There was a large river at the other end of the forest, they explained, and on the other side of the river was a tower, and in the tower there was a beautiful princess whom they intended to kidnap. "All right," said the huntsman, "I'll get her for you soon enough." "But wait, there's something else," the giants continued. "There's a little dog that starts barking as soon as anyone approaches. And when it barks, everyone at the royal court wakes up. That's why we can't get in. Do you think you can shoot the little dog?" I don't like this. Oh, fairy tales. Okay. By the way, Lola is sleeping. Please hit like on this video. Let's get the Literary Archaeology channel going. And the more you guys like the video, the more YouTube will say, maybe we should promote this channel. It'd be great. "Certainly," he said. "That's just trifling sport for me." Soon after that, the huntsman got on a boat and sailed over the river. And as soon as he landed, the little dog came running out and was about to bark when the huntsman took out his gun and shot it dead. When the giants saw that, they rejoiced, thinking that they had the princess for sure. But the huntsman wanted first to check on things at the castle and told them to stay outside until he called them. So he went into the castle, where everyone was asleep, and it was dead quiet. When he opened the door to the first room, he saw a saber of pure silver hanging on the wall. It had a gold star on it, and the king's name was inscribed on the handle. Nearby, on a table, lay a sealed letter, which he opened. and it said that whoever had possession of the saber could kill anything he encountered. So he took the saber from the wall, went to the entrance, and called the giants to come in. However, he told them he couldn't get the door to open completely, and that they had to crawl through a hole. So the first giant came and crawled inside, and oh gosh, and as soon as his head appeared, the huntsman took the saber and sliced off his head and shoved his body completely inside. Then he called the second giant and sliced his head off too, and showed him and shoved him inside. Finally, he called the third giant and told him that they already had the princess. So he came crawling inside, and he fared no better than the two other giants. This was how the huntsman saved the princess from the giants. Okay, not done yet. After this, he closed the hole and went on to explore the castle. Next, he came to the room where the princess was lying asleep. She was so beautiful that he stopped in his tracks, gazed at her, and held his breath. He looked around some more and saw a pair of slippers underneath her bed. Her father's name and a star were on the right slipper, and on the left, her own name and a star. She was also wearing a large silk neckerchief embroidered with gold. Her father's name was on the right side and her own on the left, all in gold letters. The huntsman took a pair of scissors, cut off the right corner of the neckerchief, and slipped it onto his knapsack. Okay, it's getting interesting. He also put in the right slipper with the king's name on it. The maiden kept sleeping, all wrapped up in her nightgown. Then he took off a piece of the gown as well, without touching her, and put it into his knapsack with the rest of the articles. After that, he went away and let her sleep undisturbed. When he came to the place where the giants were living, he cut out all three of their tongues from their heads and stuck them in his knapsack. Finally, he decided to take everything home and show it all to his father. All right. When the king woke up in the castle, he saw the three giants lying there dead. Then he went into his daughter's bedchamber, woke her up, and asked her who could have possibly come and killed the giants. "Dear father," she said, "I don't know. I was asleep." When she got up and wanted to put on her slippers, the right one was missing. And when she looked at her neckerchief, the right corner had been cut off and was missing. Then she glanced down at her nightgown and saw that a piece had been taken out of it. The king ordered the entire court to assemble all the soldiers and everyone who was there, and he asked who had killed the giants. Now, the king had an ugly, one-eyed captain. Here we go. Every time the fairy tale was like, doo-doo-doo. And then all of a sudden, like 3/4 of the way through, yep, we go on our mushroom trip every time. And I have said before, and in case this is your first time, welcome. It seems to me that the fairy tales kind of go off in a weird way, because the most important thing about a fairy tale is the lessons that it is teaching. So whatever characters need to be brought in, whatever fantastical way it has to get done, whatever needs to get done to teach the lesson and stay in the story is what happens. It's almost like, it reminds me of when a small child is telling you a story, making it up as they go along. And they kind of know where they want to go with it. And then all of a sudden, this thing that doesn't make sense in the story that they're telling is in the story. That's what it reminds me of. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think it's just for entertainment? Because The longer I've experienced stuff, the more I'm like, I don't think anything is just entertainment. There's always a purpose in it. And whether that's to bring us closer to the truth of our own human nature, of the existence of God, or to pull us away from all of that, which you can definitely see in today's media, movies, everything, news. It's always a narrative. There's always a narrative. All right, so the ugly one-eyed captain. Now the king had an ugly one-eyed captain who claimed that he had done it. Thereupon, the old king announced that he was entitled to wed his daughter, since he had saved her. But the maiden said, "Dear father, I'd rather leave home and go as far away from here as my legs will carry than marry him." Since she refused to marry the captain, the king commanded her to take off her royal garments, put on peasant clothes, and leave the court. He ordered her furthermore, because she's disobeyed her father. And that's a no-go. That used to be a no-go. That was like, all right, well, get out of my house. It used to be that if you did not obey your parents, you were disowned. He ordered her furthermore to go to a potter and start selling potters. So she took off her royal garments, went to a potter, and borrowed a stock of his earthenware. She promised to pay him back if she sold everything by evening. Then the king told her to go sit by the roadside and sell earthenware. In the meantime, he ordered some farmers to drive their wagons over. Oh no! Oh no! He ordered some farmers to drive their wagons over her wares and crush everything into 1,000 pieces. Daddy is not playing. The things daughters get away with nowadays, right? You can just disrespect your father, completely disobey him, and I think even worse is going into something like having an OF account. Oh, this isn't a monetized channel, having an OnlyFans channel. And then acting promiscuous and doing whatever. And the father's just like going to enable you because I'm just going to love you. That's not love. This father's not having any of it. So he told her to go out there and sell the pottery. And he also ordered men to come and destroy it, to sabotage all of it. When the princess set out her wares along the road, the wagons came and smashed everything to pieces. She burst into tears and said, "Oh Lord, how am I going to pay the potter now?" This was the way that the king wanted to force her to marry the captain. However, she went back to the potter and asked if he would lend her some more earthenware. He told her no, not until she paid for the stock that he had already given her. So she went to her father and screamed and told him she wanted to go far away from there. He answered that she was to go into the forest where he was going to have a cottage built for her. She was to stay there for the rest of her life and cook for anyone who came along. But she was not allowed to accept money for this. What is she supposed to cook? Who's hunting? Like, where's she getting the food to cook? Maybe we're not supposed to think about that. When the cottage was finished, a sign was hung outside the door, and on it was written, "Today for nothing, tomorrow for money." Today for nothing, tomorrow for money. She lived there a long time, and news spread throughout the world that a maiden was living there who cooked for nothing, just as the sign said on the door. Word of this also reached the huntsman, and he thought, "That's something for you." After all, you're poor and have no money. So he took his air gun and knapsack, in which he had put all the tokens he had taken from the castle, went into the forest and found the cottage with the sign, "Today for nothing, tomorrow for money." Now he was still wearing the saber with which he had cut off the heads of the giants, and he carried it into the cottage with him. He asked to have something to eat and was delighted to see the beautiful maiden who was as pretty as a picture. She asked him where he had come from and where he was going, and he replied, "I'm just traveling about the world." Then she asked him where he had got the saber, for her father's name was on it. In response, he inquired whether she was the king's daughter. "Yes," she answered. "With this saber," he said, "I cut off the heads of 3 giants." And as proof, he took the tongues out of his knapsack. Oh, they must be like tongue jerky by now. Then he also showed her the slipper and corner of her neckerchief and the piece of nightgown. All at once, she was overcome with joy, for she realized that he was the one who had saved her. Then they went to the old king together, and she led her father into her room and told him that the huntsman was the one who had saved her. When the old king saw the proof, all his doubts vanished, and he said he was glad and that the huntsman was entitled to marry the princess, and the princess was tremendously happy. So now they dressed up the huntsman as a foreign lord, right? Because, it can't be too lowly. Status, right? And the king had a banquet prepared. When they went to the table, the captain came and sat on the left side of the princess, and the huntsman on the right. The captain thought the huntsman was a foreign lord who had come for a visit. When they had finished eating and drinking, the old king said to the captain that he wanted him to solve a riddle. How would it be possible if someone said he had killed 3 giants who couldn't find their tongues when asked to look for them? "They probably never had any tongues," said the captain. "Not so," replied the king. "Every creature has a tongue." And he asked the captain what a person deserved if he were to deceive a king. "He should be torn to pieces," the captain replied. The king told him he had pronounced his own sentence. The captain was thrown into prison and subsequently torn into four pieces. Ew, drawn and quartered. The princess, though, was wed to the huntsman, and he returned home to fetch his father and mother, who came to live happily with their son. After the old king's death, he inherited the kingdom. So he was rewarded for going out and becoming a locksmith and then becoming a huntsman. We don't know about the family he came from. Maybe they were of limited means. Maybe the father wasn't able to have a trade. Either way, he was rewarded for his ingenuity. He was rewarded for his intelligence. He outsmarted the giants. And what's interesting is that when he was there and he was first taking the little tokens and stuff, he didn't go and demand the princess then. He just waited. And it happened to come to pass. The daughter sure did face some consequences from not obeying her father. Her father was wrong. He was deceived by the captain. So there's a lot of mixed things in this story. Disobeying. A lot of times in the stories, you will see the princess obeying the father against her own wishes. She didn't this time. She certainly paid a price for it. But in the end, truth is what won the day. Truth won the day. Truth and good. We're supposed to seek what is good, what is true, what is beautiful. Those things were definitely highlighted in this story. We're not used to that in this day and age. We're not. We're dissuaded from that. If you notice the beautiful cathedrals and architecture that once was everywhere in the West, it's gotten destroyed. Wars, torn down, replaced with boring, rectangular, plain, drab buildings. They're taking what's beautiful and they're turning it into being ugly. They're taking what's true and they're flooding us with lies. And they're telling us what is evil is good and what is good is evil. That's one reason they hide the fairy tales and other old poems, stories, all kinds of things. Because these things proclaim the truth and they don't want you to know it. They don't want you to know it. They don't want you to teach it to your children. They don't want you to pass it on. And you can see the results from these things not being passed along. And that's why we do this. Even if we only have a little corner of the internet to do it in, we're going to say what's true and trust the truth to do its thing and prevail. So thank you for joining me today on our first fairy tale on this new channel. I really appreciate you guys. Please share this video everywhere you can think of. Please, again, hit like, subscribe to the channel. Let's build it up so we can share this truth with more and more people. So we can open their eyes because we think in stories. That's why Jesus taught in stories. So thank you guys. Don't forget, protect your peace, feed your souls. I love you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.